What's up, everybody? It's ImmaLetYouFinish, show number 185 on the Pantheon Podcast Network. It's your favorite host, Court and Aim, who are taking time out of our fittings for next Monday's, this upcoming Monday's Met Gala that we're attending.
Is there like absolutely nobody gives a damn about this thing anymore?
I feel like, well, now
I should preface it. I never really gave a damn, but it feels like there's less than nobody cares.
Well, it used to feel special. Now it just feels like a random thing that's full of like reality
another
TV
night
stars
to get dressed and go to a
influencers.
museum, basically.
When I first used to watch the live footage, it would be like designers and their model muses, and everybody would have on these fabulous elaborate costumes. Now it just feels like, it's like live from E's red carpet at the People's Choice of America.
Well, listen, there's only one event going on in New York right now. There's only one event we care about.
Eric was on Drink Champs?
No, he wasn't on Drink Champs.
Oh, no, Miss Thing.
No, wait a minute.
The episode's not out yet. But there are clips all over Twitter.
Wait a minute.
Eric Adams, I believe, is going to be the upcoming guest of fucking Drink Champs.
All right,
I forgot to tell you that.
Yeah. Okay. No. Okay. We can't even get into that right now because.
Oh no, we can. Let's
watch it first.
Mayor, why is he there?
Because he's desperate.
You should be. The city is in fucking shambles.
All right.
There are helicopters that I've been hearing outside my house for weeks because
that's because of Columbia
and City College are right up the hill.
Yeah.
The city, and you're on Drink Champs.
Oh, all right. I thought he didn't drink. I thought the whole thing was him. He was Mr.
We'll
Vegan.
See, right? He was
going to take shots
he was also
of kombucha?
Eating fish at a fish restaurant.
He is not going to drink on the show. I can guarantee you. He's not going to be taking shots of alcohol. I mean, but he'll probably be taking shots of kombucha or some kind of Turkish product because he's in bed with the Turks, which is not a bad place to be. I mean,
you love Turkey.
It's a beautiful country. It's an absolutely stunning country. All right. I'm going to segue this like a champion. You know who aren't turkeys? Our New York Knicks.
Oof.
Let me tell you something.
They're playing tonight. We take the show on Tuesdays, guys.
They're playing tonight at 7:30. I have told my students I want all their energy. They know now. I want all their energy. Work on the final project and put all your energy into tonight's game.
I almost want to go to Midtown and just stand outside the Garden so that when it ends, if they win and they come out, I could be a part of the energy that I know is going to be on the street.
Oh, but it's nuts. All right, so it's been a fantastic series so far. Jalen Brunson beat the Knicks playoffs record that was set by Bernard King, Saint Bernard, our savior, which is what they used to call him, with 47 points. And thank you, Joel Embiid, a.k.a. the Black Bill Lambier, for spurring Jalen on. Because when you pulled that nonsense in the fourth quarter of the fourth game, and you like, oops, I'm 7'2", and you're barely 6 feet, and I think I'm just going to smack you in the head. You could see.
Elbowed him.
Yeah, you could see.
Let's talk about all of the dirty shit that he did.
What?
Mitchell Robinson's in the air. He decides to grab his leg and yank him down.
Yeah, it was
when Josh Hart fell on the
wrestling.
floor. You see him fall backwards, and he catches himself. But then you see him actually lift his foot and take an extra step and step on his calf.
Amazing
I'm like,
if this were Draymond Green.
Are you trying to hurt? Listen,
Yes, he is.
Why are you trying to hurt other players?
Because he's a dirty player, and he's always been a dirty player, and he whines. That's why I said he's the Black Bill Lambier.
Yep.
Except that I
have to tell you, I actually used to like Joel Embiid. This series, watching all of the dirty shit that he really pulled, especially knowing that you're fucking playing injured.
Well, that's why he's doing it.
No one's trying to knock you in your knees and take you out. But
that's why he's doing it. But Joel Embiid. But what I was going to say is, when he did that to Brunson, because all the attention was on the other foul, Hartenstein, who fouled out. But that's fine. I mean, you know what? We still won the game. And Hartenstein copped to it. As soon as he did, it went, yeah, I screwed up.
Right.
As soon as he did that to Brunson, and they even said the refs weren't focusing on that. They were going the other. You could see this, like, the light suddenly go on in Brunson's eyes, and he got this. I've never seen, he just got laser focused, and it was like, Thank you, Joel.
It was like the enough is enough because you've been playing dirty this whole fucking series.
Yeah,
like,
and he's awful.
Trying to step on another player's calf is crazy to me.
Well, he doesn't get penalized, though.
You are 7 feet and like 300 pounds.
He's like 7'2". He's a tree. He's a sequoia.
You're
he's a human
legit trying to hurt people.
Yep, and he doesn't get thrown out. So for every Philly fan,
in the words of Nene Leakes, you never win when you play dirty, baby. You never win when you play dirty.
I thought you were going to say "close your legs to married men," but okay.
That's one of the. She's got so many classic lines.
That's the greatest line ever.
That is the greatest. Like, close your legs to married men. And Kim was like, "What?" And then she repeated it. Close your legs to married men.
But for every Sixer fan. It is a great line.
Or when she said about Kim is a low down monkey in a wig. I'm like, what homosexual is living in your head? How do you even come up with that?
When Sixers fans complain about the second game at the Garden where the Knicks, it was literally the most exhausting 37 seconds of my life.
Right.
It was like a firing squad. They're like, no, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. No, you shoot it. No, you shoot it.
And yes, and there were fouls committed. But you know what? I feel like in the last seconds of the game, you have to just let the game play. It's the last seconds. Let it play out.
No, that I understand. But what I'm saying is for all the Sixer fans who were whining about, Maxey, blah, blah, blah. You know what? Whatever officiating may have been off or not off, and you should let it play out in a playoff game. You have to kind of let it. What Embiid did the other day, he did it in the second game too. Yeah. But what he did the other day, and then to have the audacity to whine, all these Knicks fans are coming to Philly. The last time I looked, the trains ran both ways. And then
I saw this one woman saying, they can't afford the tickets to Madison Square Garden.
Oh,
they can't afford. So it was cheaper to get on Amtrak and come here. I was like, what planet are you on?
She's on the planet. She's on the planet they're losing. Anyway, hopefully tonight, it'll be great. It'll be great.
Fingers crossed. Please.
It'll be great. It'll be great. But here's what you have to promise me. You need to promise me this.
I won't text you in the first quarter when things are going
I'm sorry. The first quarter? The first 2 minutes into the game.
No, it wasn't the first 2 minutes.
I have no, but you need to.
It was in the first quarter when they were missing shots. And sometimes they have a tendency to look like the Keystone Cops, and it drives me nuts.
I know. But first off, what's your game like?
Excuse me?
Neither one of us can play basketball.
How dare you?
Yeah, all right. I know.
I'm an international icon.
My basketball game was not great. But what I'm saying is we all know, all basketball fans know that basically it's a sport. You can watch the last 5 minutes and you're good. Right? It's not like soccer. Well, no, that's not true. Soccer, you have to pay attention. We're just going to put out good energy, right? And the Garden is going to be insane. I could feel the shaking and screaming in Brooklyn. And I love
that game felt like a Knicks home game in Philadelphia.
It
felt like I was like,
I read this really interesting article.
You can't win when you play dirty, baby.
They said that this British writer wrote, and they said the New York Knicks are the closest the United States has to a British football league.
Yeah,
right,
yeah.
Because football fans real football, not American football, will travel to other cities to cheer their fans. Yeah, really, Philadelphia is an hour and a half away if you drive fast. Give me a freaking break.
And the truth of the matter is...
And those were all white corporate seats there anyway. Stop.
And we're starved. We're starved for really competitive basketball from the Knicks. So
fun.
The fact that everybody's excited is like we finally have something to be excited about. We've had decades of watching this team underperform.
I will say that last year at this time, they were also in the playoffs. But it didn't feel the same.
This just feels different. The other times felt like the first time we got there was no expectation. I think this time it feels like we actually have a team. We have a bench. There's something to really
all eyes
root
on New York right now.
And we don't have... We've been kind of making stars of people who've been in the league for a really long time, right? Jalen Brunson came here from somewhere else. You know what I mean? Julius Randle came here from somewhere else, but they became stars in New York. Josh Hart came here from someplace else. You know what I mean? All of it be DiVincenzo. So it feels like a scrappy bunch that didn't have the big off-season free agent signing names, and we're in here fighting for something, and it's great.
And screw the Sixers for not signing guys who went to college a minute away from your city. So hell with them. They were right there.
I mean,
you could be watching them the whole time. Villanova, last time I checked, was in Pennsylvania. All right. So as you know, on this show, there were two basic things that drive our entire DNA. The Knicks, and though in the off season, we're going to have to think of something else to really obsess about, but it's a long season. And our Pet Shop Boys. And our Pet Shop Boys.
For me, it's the Giants. You don't have my Giants.
Yeah, I don't care about football. I can only back so many losing teams. I mean,
It's hard. It's hard.
It teaches you character. I used to say long-suffering Knicks fan is redundant. You just have to say Knicks.
And it's all this tennis going on and around the world.
Yeah, I don't care about
watching
that
Coco lose. I keep watching Tiafoe
We're talking about a sporting event. Knicks, hometown sporting event. All right, so we care about the Knicks and we care about Pet Shop Boys. And Pet Shop Boys, once again, you know what? I'm not saying this to be sarcastic or ironic or everything. I cannot think of a group, and I'm being really serious. I cannot think of a group that has consistently put out solid records that are both very much their own, but not the same as the previous record. Mm-hmm. And I'm talking about across the board. I'm talking about rock bands. I'm talking about R&B acts. I mean, change, that's great. We want a little, but you always know with the Pet Shop Boys that it's them. Okay. Now, granted, it's the same. But yet each album is a little different in a way. So this album, it's just great. It's just great. It's got a sort of real. They've been increasing. Look, they're older guys, right? They're older gay guys at this point, and so they're
only the only person who's talked about his sexuality publicly has been Neil Tennant.
All right, older gay guy. He writes the lyrics. So older.
He writes the lyrics.
He writes the lyrics. So and it's funny.
And he said this is our queer album,
right? Which is hilarious because then you're going, and which one wasn't? But this is
that this album different. Like, and we've talked about this. The lyrics are very direct in his telling stories. The other ones had stories, but there's political albums. Other albums told lots of different things.
There's no irony here.
This is definitely like talking about when he first came to London, being a young gay man, and those experiences.
It's the perspective of a 70-year-old gay. And it's interesting. I got into a conversation with a younger queer man that I know who's lovely, and he's into similar music to me, and I said, oh, you gotta listen to the Pet Shop Boys are great. And he was like, and his first reaction was, and I'm not criticizing, he was like, well, they've been saying kind of turfy things in print, which I haven't read. And then I went, they're old gay guys. You gotta kind of old gay guy. You have to cut him sort of a break. And he went, yeah. So I haven't read anything where they're turfing up. I can't even get into that, to be honest with you. It's 9:30 in the morning. I can't discuss that. Check our connection, please, because something just happened where it said my internet connection.
Yeah, I said that on mine too, but don't worry. I'm the one who's watching the
okay, no, I'm just saying. So, okay. But it's a beautiful album. There are dance tracks. There Dancing Star, I love. What's the song I'm absolutely obsessed with? Like, I'm going to bring it up. Absolutely obsessed. Where are you, Pet Shop Boys? Where are you, Pet Shop Boys? I'm sorry. I've had a rough. Okay. The song I'm absolutely. First off, the album is called Nonetheless. They always have one. Don't they always have one? Loneliness is the first single. New London Boy is beautiful. It's almost like the answer to Northern. What's that song on Northern Boy that you love so much? And then the one I love is Schlager Hit Parade. I have no idea what that even freaking means. I have no idea.
Sexy Northerner, you mean?
Sexy Northerner. It's almost like his version of Sexy Northerner. And Love is the Law. Oh, what a great way to end a record. It's both like really hopeful, really emotional, really... but super danceable. And this is what they do. They make...
Well, they just finished a trilogy of albums with Stuart Price, right? Which was great. Started with Electric and ended with Hotspot and Super in the middle.
This
is their first time working with James Ford, who's a member of Simeon Mobile Disco, which has great music, and The Last Shadow Puppets. And, he's done a lot of production. He's worked with Depeche Mode, Blur, Florence and the Machine, Haim, The Gorillaz, Jessie Ware, Kylie,
Oh, Oh, so really eclectic.
And this is, they have their own label X2, but they signed and X2 with this record back to Parlophone. So this is their first album back with Parlophone since Elysium in 2012.
So what's Parlophone in the States?
Parlophone. I believe Parlophone still.
Is it Universal? Is it one of those?
It is. I believe it's Universal. Uh-huh.
Anyway, it's just a beautiful record. They're doing lots of press. Listen, they're always a great interview. We sound like a broken record, and they are just one of these stealth groups. They've always been there. You want to get
it's solid. Yeah, you and I talk about this all the time. The songwriting.
Yeah, it's great. They're great songs.
Neil is a great songwriter. The music is great. To me, they are the greatest dance band
ever
on the planet.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that they are the greatest outside of Chic. I can't think of another dance band. And to be honest, and no disrespect to Chic, lyrically, Chic was not pushing any boundaries. I mean, Chic stuff it was perfect, and it was great, smart dance music. And I hate the term smart dance music, but people know what I mean. These are pop songs and singer-songwriter confessional songs that you can dance to. There's a lot, and you can see the progress in their lives, and they're growing old gracefully, and they're making, I'll shoot myself for saying this, they are making exactly how you do a career. They're, age appropriate, great songwriting, great lyrics, but you always know it's them. I put it on and I was I can't think of a record recently I've put it on, I'm like, boom, yep, I'm good. And they're always nice short records too. You like that, right? 10 tracks, in and out 10 tracks. Well, Neil Tennant has, he got his start as a pop music critic before he became a pop star. And he is not, he's an opinionated guy, as he should be. And he has been doing a lot of he tends to be the one that talks. I mean, Chris Lowe does talk as well, but it is kind of, I guess because Neil Tennant writes the lyrics, people expect him to talk. But Chris Lowe does speak. He is not,
and he speaks in the interviews.
But people look to Neil Tennant. They're looking to Neil Tennant for the comment. So Neil Tennant has kind of made a few statements about Taylor Swift, saying, he's not saying he doesn't like her.
He's actually says that he likes her very much.
Right, but because we're in a world of clickbait. He said, I don't feel like she's written the big, important song yet. And as the kids say, where's the lie?
Right. It's different. He said, where's the Billie Jean, right? And some people are like, shake it off. I'm like, shake it off for her is an important song because that was her pop moment. But Billie Jean was a cultural moment.
Yes.
There's the difference. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Shake It Off for Taylor Swift is absolutely a very important moment because
that's her first track with Max Martin.
And that's going from, I don't know, because I think maybe We Are Never, Ever, Ever was Max Martin.
That might be Max Martin.
But I think the difference was that was still not saying, that was straddling a line. That wasn't saying, here's my pop. Going into the 1989 album was, I'm going to make a pop record. So that first single, there was a lot hinging on it. Shake It Off is a monster hit. So to her, it is absolutely a very important moment in history.
Right.
But I think that when you think of something like a Billie Jean, which is what he was saying when he was saying like an important moment, worldwide, that was a cultural moment with so many different, even with the moonwalk, which...
Everything.
We in New York have been seeing that, like everybody's like, Michael Jackson discovered the moonwalk. I was like, well, breakdancers in New York streets have been doing that, doing it for years. But it was and it's still a cultural moment.
Yeah.
I think if you ask a bunch of different people about Taylor Swift, you can pick different songs and different moments, depending on who you talk to say, this is the big song from her to me.
Well, what do you think? I mean, I think it was interesting that he picked Billie Jean because they're very different artists. But first off, maybe because there weren't as many over the top, we know all their chart numbers, superstar big records. I mean, Michael Jackson, I think, kind of ushered in that blockbuster record type of thing. And also this was his, second record after becoming, or, major record after going, really solo and becoming more of an adult. But I mean, I'm sorry, Swifties, Michael Jackson is a better performer.
Well, I don't think he was trying to compare it to that. I think it wasn't about her performing. It was really about the music, the song.
Well, I mean,
kind of like you think about the way you think of Purple Rain.
Right.
Purple Rain is that song is a cultural moment, no matter where you are in the globe, like a Virgin. You know what I mean? Those kind of big records
where it breaks through.
And it transcends a lot of different things. People who are not even a fan of somebody.
Right,
like
my
mother could name, if you ask her to name a Madonna song, she'd be like, oh, she doesn't care about Madonna, but she would know Like a Virgin.
Right.
She can't name a Taylor Swift song. She knows who she is, but my mom, she doesn't pay attention to her.
Well, also Taylor Swift and Michael Jackson came of the age, was certainly ushered in the age of video. Taylor Swift's videos have never been particularly compelling for me.
Right.
I mean, they've never, and that's not a diss because she doesn't need to be a video artist and you don't need video in the same way.
But also she's an artist in the age where now even videos, they're pretty, they come, it's not
you don't
the
need
same.
It. You don't need it. But I think once again, because we live in an age where you can't
say.
Clickbait.
Well, it's clickbait. They top.
You can't say anything about anybody. And that's the thing. It's very similar to what Courtney Love. None of these people are saying she's not with talent. None of these people are saying she doesn't deserve to be on the planet, that she's not making. All they're saying is, in the scheme of things, where's her impact seems to be commercial. Like, where's her moment? Exactly. She's having a series of moments, Taylor Swift. We're not saying, well, we've said.
And what we're seeing is everybody's taking part of what somebody says and great. And then they're making these very sensational headlines that is really kind of misleading to the statement.
Of course. Yeah, because it's really funny. I was looking at some online discussion among writer people that I know or know of on Facebook. And one of them quoted verbatim a headline from an interview where it said, this is our most, Pet Shop Boys surprise, new album, our most queer record yet. And everybody's like making fun. I was like, excuse me, that's exactly how they describe the record. This is not a 25-year-old who knows nothing about the Pet Shop Boys going, oh my God, they're gay. That's been their selling point for this record.
Like when they held up certain records, when they held up Fundamental, he was like, this is our political record.
Right.
This is this record. And Neil Tennant said, this is our queer record.
Right. So it's just so funny to me that that's what I'm saying. This is the sort of lameness of, like, you only read the first two lines. You only want to get a reaction. You only want this, the other. So, I mean, I don't think anything Neil Tennant said was wrong or inappropriate. Courtney Love is a lightning rod. We can have ad nauseum conversation, but she didn't say anything. First off, not everybody has to like Madonna as a person, and not everybody has to like Courtney Love as a person. And if you've been paying attention, they've never liked each other. They've never gotten along. I mean, look at the old MTV News clip where Courtney's drunk and throwing her makeup up at Madonna. They're very different people. And I don't have issues with Courtney Love either, because she doesn't factor into my thought process. That's a negative. She's just not somebody I think about. But it's just, she's not saying anything that's particularly off. And we're just not allowed to criticize anybody anymore. You can't say anything negative about anybody, which is ridiculous.
And, like, who gives a shit? It's her opinion. You know what I mean? People get so upset and say, who gives a shit what she thinks? It's always entertaining to read. I'll always read something she has to say because she's a shit talker. And kind of sort of in 2024, I kind of like a shit talker.
But also, she's a shit talker who has brought a lot of attention to, for instance, the way women in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. So I'll give her that. If she's somebody who stirs the pot, but you want to see what's in the pot, good. Good. Let her say it, and it comes and goes. Yeah, it's just the stupidity. But anyway, please, Pet Shop Boys record is just wonderful. Now, you're going to have to explain this story to me, because I read it like 3 times. Eric Church at Stagecoach, and I don't know what's the issue. I'm serious.
Well,
I don't know.
I'll tell you what. The people always want to scream the Bible at us and claim that they love Jesus and they own Jesus.
Well, not me. That's one of the advantages.
Well, when he brought a little Jesus to
that's not how I read it at all.
No, his set.
No, I know what the set was. That's interesting, your interpretation.
Well, this is because his set was an acoustic set where he did some covers, but he did a lot of gospel songs.
Okay.
And he had a gospel choir. And because I guess it's a festival, the fans did not appreciate that, and they booed. And some of the hardcore fans who I think love him stayed and cheered and loved what he was giving, and
Right.
other people just piled out and left, and they were upset, and they just felt like that's not what they came to see.
See, now I read it a different. Now, Stagecoach is not a country music festival, though. I mean, it's in the desert of California, so
It's a country music festival.
it's only country
Yeah,
music.
it's the country festival. It happens. It's the same. It's in the desert because it's the same people who own Coachella.
Oh,
And
right.
if you have all of those stages and stuff, right? It's cheaper to you have it the next weekend because you're not breaking down all of the
You
stages.
do know that the man who runs Coachella is a massive Trump supporter. Horrible, like a bad guy. All right, but anyway, I read the article as, because you're getting a kind of hip audience to Stagecoach. You're not getting the good old boys. I read the article as people wanted to hear songs as performed on the album. They didn't want to have different interpretations of his stuff. So I read that a lot of it.
He wasn't singing a lot of his. He did sing some of his songs, but a lot of the songs were cover songs and gospel stuff.
Right.
But my thing is this: when is it that you're coming to a show? It used to be like we came to the show and got to experience what the artist was trying to give. Like this idea that's like, well, I'm coming and I expect it to be this is really, that it's a strange thing. I can understand being disappointed. Sometimes you go to a show and you think you're going to hear certain things and you don't. But I also love to go and see, what is the artist trying to say? What are they trying to give me? There's a really weird expectation that we have now that people feel like they should be able to curate a show, and whatever happened to just going and enjoying what you were getting and getting into the moment. If it's an artist that you
was
love.
it billed as a special kind of show?
You know how when you're at a festival, it's just your name up there. It doesn't say that it's going to.
Well, sometimes they go like, I'm going to be doing, like Beyonce was like, I'm doing Homecoming, so you knew to like come and you were only going to hear that stuff.
No, she didn't say she was doing Homecoming. Nobody knew what they were going to get. They didn't know what Beyonce was the headliner. People had no idea what they were going to get. It wasn't called Homecoming until after, when she made an album and a special album.
I mean, I think I know Eric Church is very popular. I would be lying if I said I knew what he sounded like. I know he's one of the more reputable country artists. I think it's much ado about nothing, honestly, but a lot of it.
The clips that I saw, he sounded great.
Yeah, I mean, I've heard him sing. He is a good, and hello, country fans. The line between gospel and country is a very thin line indeed.
Very, very thin.
Like very.
Now, the flip side is I can also understand. I'm at a festival all day, and people are giving me really up-tempo country and all of the things, and you're the headliner. Excuse me. You're the headliner, and it's whatever time of night, and you get there, and the set that you're giving is an acoustic with a choir, and it sounds beautiful, but it's like after a day of drinking, being out there, listening to all of these artists, it could seem like this is a little bit of a buzzkill, so I definitely I understand that portion of it too, but I've always been one of the ones who feels like if I'm coming to see somebody, I don't know what I'm coming to see, so I kind of get into the vibe of what the artist is giving me on stage, unless it's something really horrible, like you sound like shit and it's just not working.
I will say something, and one of my favorite artists is David Garza, and I've seen him several times. And he's a fantastic guitar player. He co-produced the last Fiona Apple record and won a Grammy for that. And he's one of these guys who's like a session guitar player, in demand, great songwriter, blah, blah, blah. And the 3 times I've seen him, he hasn't played the guitar. I mean, he's been acoustic. He opened up for Fiona Apple. What was Damien Wright? Oh my God, this was like literally the Suicide Show. It was him, Damien Rice, and Fiona Apple. I mean, they were all great, but it was like, holy crap, is this sponsored? No, it was no. It was fantastic. It was in Central Park, but it was it was heavy. It was a very heavy show, but it was a great show. But every time I've seen him, I've kept hoping he's gonna. I see him play guitar because he is a great guitar player. But I've never gone, oh, this sucked because he's not doing what I want him to do. Because I know what a great artist is, and at some point, maybe I'll see him. Yeah, I mean, Buzzkill, Eric Church's fans are. How old are these people at this show? In their 50s?
I think it's a wide spectrum.
Was it? All right. Sometimes they don't play the hits. It sounded great from what I saw. I don't know him from a can of paint. I know he's considered, and not for nothing. The stuff I have heard of is if you can't tell that this guy's got some sort of gospel background, then you have not been paying attention to him because he's got that churchy kind of voice.
His voice kind of gives all of that. My thing is this: how about just go to the show without an expectation? You're going to see an artist you like, and learn to just let yourself enjoy it.
Yeah. Well, people think they're owed things now. We're owed an experience.
We're going to take a break and be right back.
Hey, Pantheon listeners, Christian Swain here. Another day, another podcast I'm working on. This time, it's Famous and Gravy with Amit and Michael. I want to let you know that I loved the Factor Meals package so much that I re-upped for myself, and then I sent a package to my in-laws. Like I was with my first shipment from Factor Meals, the in-laws were as excited to try one of the prepared restaurant quality meals. Well, they got the shipment to Protein Plus meal plan and were very impressed. See, being in their 80s, anything to make the meal prep easy is a plus for them. They heated the oven per instructions and minutes later were enjoying a very delicious, nutritious, and dietitian-approved meal. One big win for me. But what really floored them was the taste. Like I told you, it's surprising how good these meals taste. Restaurant quality indeed. And like my own shipment, it really was everything Factor Meals said it would be for some seniors. No prep, no mess meals. Factor Meals are 100% ready to heat and eat. Take it from me and my in-laws. Head to factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. That's factormeals.com/Pantheon50 and use the code Pantheon50 to get 50% off. Thank you, Factor Meals.
And we're back.
All right. You know how it's like sometimes like somebody will act up of a certain race or certain religion and we're like, we're disowning ourselves from this person.
Mm-hmm.
Amanda, what with Amanda? All right, first off, you need to explain to me once and for all, who is this Shay Shay? I know who he is, but how is he like a 3-hour podcast? Who has time for that? Him, obviously. I know he's not an interviewer, so to hold him to journalist standards is completely insane. He's like a guy. Is he a former athlete, I'm assuming?
Yeah, he's in the Hall of Fame. He is
of what sport? Football, right?
Football, yeah.
All right, so a man who potentially has CTE has a podcast. Okay, great.
Oh, God. But he also has a college degree, let's be nice.
That's got nothing to do with his ability to be a podcaster. Most college athletes have college degrees.
Do most? Because a lot of people leave.
I think they get him through. I'm not saying he's not intelligent. What I'm saying is I'm
going to say this. I'm not going to give him a pass on this because my allergies. I'm about to sneeze. So I have to
my God!
My allergies are in full. Hold on.
Sneeze. No, it's been awful. By the way, in New York,
it's like I'm going through it.
All right.
Shannon Sharp should know better because
Shay Shay. Look, can we start with that?
Listen, we have a podcast. This podcast will be 5 years old in June. Right. Okay? 5 years old. When we have a guest, we prepare for that guest.
Right.
One of us is a journalist.
Right.
One of us isn't. But I still know how to read some basic information.
Right. He had no idea.
If I have a guest come on the show and I'm sitting there with cards, so it's been prepared by somebody, and trust me, he has a producer.
Oh, he has a producer, for sure.
This show is professionally shot. It's all of the things. He's not doing all of that. You start out when you're like, so your mother is white.
So your mother is white. So your mother is white.
She's not white. She's West Indian.
White.
She's not white. She's on the island of Grenada. And he's like, well, it's West Indian. And it's like.
I know. That.
Do you know? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then, okay, fine. Well, then she married a white man. She did not marry a white man. That's where you got to be like, it's not about handling somebody
here's my
like they're a
question.
journalist. It's about, can you at least be prepared and not be woeful in your ignorance of having something so wrong?
But Courtney, here's my question. It's not a live show. Why didn't they cut that part out? He starts
because it is night, because they seemingly had 87 hours. Well, it might be like hours, because our show, people don't realize, sometimes we edit, but we're like when you do certain TV shows that are live to tape. You only take out something if it's really egregious, or there are times where we have a break. Like our show, once we start, we don't stop. We start and we finish. And his seems to give me that, because it could use some editing. Nothing needs to be 3.5 hours long.
But it's not even that. It's like one of the tricks you learn when you're doing interviews with artists, right? Mm-hmm. Is you ask the question that's going to piss them off last. Because if you ask the question that's going to piss them off first, you're not going to have an interview. So you wait to the very end and go, so I heard you're beating up your girlfriend. Yeah, and then they're like, I didn't do that. So obviously no fact checkers on this show, because that's a really easy one. And also, first off, what does it matter?
I was like, why are we starting? It was just like.
But she shut it down. Mm-hmm. I mean, she's already cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs and problematic. My feeling is he wanted to set up the show, the producers, as she has a reputation for being problematic and a little off. Let's get her going from the beginning. It's almost like Andy Cohen feeding him drinks. We know she's.
I didn't even think about that perspective that way. Let me just say this about her.
Because she started off at 100, because at 100, because she's presenting herself, and she obviously she could present herself as a Black woman if she's biracial. That's not the question, but she's presenting herself in a certain way. He comes out and says something and the implication of your mother's white is to basically say, therefore you have no right to speak as a Black woman. And she's like, no. And he keeps going with it.
Even when she was talking about her experiences with racism. And I just felt like,
he was off on that.
And people are trying to act like, oh, he's not a journalist. I was like, yeah, but he's not even a good podcast host at this point. He's let his show become this place that people can just come and whine and bitch. He got drunk off of that Cat Williams energy. And I feel like instead of elevating, he's waddling in the dirt. It's really disappointing. Now, let me say this about her. I don't know this lady from a can of paint.
Right.
And I absolutely, and I want everybody to hear me, because I absolutely believe her. I believe all of her stories. Do you want to know why I believe her? And that's the way that happened? Because I 1000% believe all of the people's stories who I haven't heard and why they treated her a certain way. Because I can tell by that very complicated personality who sat on that show and said that she was autistic. And then after the show comes out, well, I've never been medically diagnosed as autistic. I'm like, well, let's not do that. Or she's had some other things in the past that have been found to be a little bit shaky ground, not right. And it just feels like, yeah, I believe every story you're telling, I believe is your truth and how that happened to you. But I also know that there is all of the people on the other side who dealt with you. I believe their truth too, because I can tell by your personality that, listen, this industry is really small, really small. I know people that have done shoots and things with her. And, when you're talking to your friends after a day or the weekend, catching up what happened. And I've heard at different times what it was like when people dealt with you. And I don't believe any one person is that unlucky. And it seems like in all of the places that you've been, chaos has ensued. Now, you know this, and I know this, that people who are great and easy to work with, especially in entertainment, they have the reputation of like being great and easy to work with. You never suddenly hear, it's shocking if you hear of someone that you've worked with and you know that they're great, there was something that went left, because we all know those people are like, oh my gosh, she's great. He's great. Right. Like they're on it, knows their job. And then on the talent side as well, there are people who everybody knows are like the dreams to work with. They're great when things are going great. They're really good if there's hiccups. They understand how that is, and they're great. And then they're the ones that that are coming in, and you know that the day is going to have some challenges.
Well,
because
that's why
they
he
can be
brings someone
challenged.
like that on, because someone
Right.
who's great is going to make for horrible TV or radio.
Right.
Right? Didn't she get her start on like MTV, and wasn't she down with all these rappers? Wasn't she like
remember
the
she was
rapper?
who got her start on MTV really was Tracy Ellis Ross. Remember?
No, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about wasn't
No.
she? I remember Amanda Seales being a rapper at some point.
Yes, and she made music, but remember her whole thing was she had the show on YouTube, and
Right.
she did the comedy stuff, and she's brilliant, and she's really funny.
No, she is funny.
She's really funny. I just think she's one of those funny, complicated personalities who might not have as much self-awareness, because in all of the things when she was telling every story, right? There was never that moment where I know I could have been better and different in here.
Right.
And it started from her college story, because she's like, I go to college, I'm sharing the suite with like 7 women, and of course, suddenly they just all don't like me. And so she tells the story, buy the bottle of tequila, I give everybody a shot, they all take a shot and say why they don't like me. And I'm like, to me, that shows there's a lack of self-awareness. So everybody who doesn't know, you all don't know each other, like often happens, you get suite mates in college, but you're the one that nobody likes.
Well,
every job, you're the one
that
you have to have a self-awareness at a certain point to say, I know my personality can be hard.
That comes with, I mean,
this woman is in her 40s. She's not a child.
No, I'm not saying that. But what I'm saying is I do think that this has become part of his shtick now, where he's going to bring
he's
people up
become
and
that
wound
place,
them
right?
up. You know who is actually, I know you're going to, I don't know why I watch him, and I know he's also very problematic,
God.
but Jason Lee does good interviews. But
here's the thing that I hate he's actually really good at his job. I just think it's trashy, but he is good at his job.
It is trashy, but what I'm saying, he's not, what I mean by good interviews is he is very upfront and honest about what he is there for, right? Can I just ask another question, and then we can, when did Cam Newton, what is going on? We're like just Cam Newton?
Well, he's got a podcast too.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, everybody's turned into
looking like a crazy missing Marley. What's happening?
Well, he hasn't gotten a TV deal, right? So he's not playing anymore. So he's got to create his own. But it's
just like, oh my God, this is why the culture, and we are all idiots. I'm not saying you have to be a journalist, okay? But you can't hire a guy who might be amazing on many things, put him in the spot where he's having a conversation, and then get mad that he's not doing that. When people watch the Roommates podcast with Jalen and Josh Hart, they're talking to each other. So that's what's funny about it. It's basically like the 3 guys or the whoever talk. It's just, I'm like, Cam, whatever. I mean, Amanda Seales is problematic. If she were a man, it wouldn't even be an issue. She would just
I don't think so. I think that it would be the same issue. There are certain people who are problematic who are men. Everywhere you go, there's drama. Yeah, you tend to be an issue. There are people who've been men that have been ousted for being too much of an issue. Yeah. I think that some self-awareness would serve her well.
Well, it's a little late, honestly. It's a little late.
Yeah.
I hate to be that. I mean, I'm not trying to say you can't grow as a person, but if you're in your 40s and have been in show business, if she is neurodivergent, that may be part of it. Is that I'm not saying she is, but I self-diagnosed myself as autistic, but then I'm not. Then don't bring it up. It's like you're bringing these. But I do think that he set her up with that race question.
I also think that it's really dumb that he's now. So this is what you want. You want to be the place where you just have everybody come and bitch because you want the clicks to you want to be the gripe show. To me, I'm like, so that's what you started this for?
What else is he going to do? What's he going to do? What do you do if you're a former athlete? You either become a commentator.
He is. Right. He has an ESPN contract. He had the show. He was on that show with Skip Bayless and then got fired from there because he had the fight with Skip Bayless and all of that stuff.
Maybe it's him. Maybe it's him. I mean, Cat Williams is Cat Williams, and that's what Cat Williams does, and we love
Right,
Cat
but then
Williams.
he had Monique. Like he wants to have.
But he's getting the people who are coming in who are, it's like that would be like saying, I'm going to bring in Chris Brown and I hope he doesn't say anything that's offensive or stupid. I'm going to bring it,
Well, no, Chris Brown just did an interview. He was on the Tank R&B Money podcast over the weekend. It was an 1.5-hour interview, and it was great.
Tank has a podcast?
Yeah.
Jesus fucking Christ.
Tank and Jay Valentine. It's actually really good. It's called the R&B Money podcast, and they interview different R&B singers and they talk about music, and
it's expecting Chris Brown to behave in a Chris Brown is not a good person. So bringing us someone like
in your opinion.
No, all right.
Because I think when you say that kind of thing, you should say that in your opinion, because there are people who absolutely love him.
And they can say, I'm not saying musically, I don't think he's a good person. I think when you allegedly beat up women, you are not a good person. I think that doesn't make you any less of an artist. There are lots of great art. What I'm saying is this is the shtick now. Like you said, you're bringing on people who are going to create a mess. And he's just going to sit there and have a mess. I mean, anybody after 3 hours is going to slip up. I mean, but he's not bringing on people who are going to do, like a coherent. I'm not Amanda Seales is not in my realm. I know who she is. Obviously, I thought, she was great on Insecure. I've never heard. Yeah, this is just part of the machine. And he's going to, I can hardly wait to see. There's no such thing as a Monique interview that doesn't go off the rails. Right? Has she ever done an interview, whether she's right or wrong? There's never been a Monique interview that sticks to, because this is what she does. Oh my God. Speaking of which, I know I'm not late to this, but are all these Jaguar Wright clips that are coming up, is this her old stuff, or is this
has been around for a while?
Right, but I'm just saying the algorithm is bringing it up.
Yeah, because she's been talking about
I know
Puffy
who killed
for years, right? And
talking about Jay and how Beyonce had somebody killed, and I'm like, though I've always thought, I will say this, I do think when you have a child, when you're pregnant, and you're discussing with your husband or your partner what you want to name the child, the cardinal rule usually is I'm not going to name it after somebody I dated or slept with.
Okay.
Well, their child is named Blue.
Are you trying to say because of the Blue Cantrell rumors?
What I'm saying is you usually don't want to bring up something that you just want to, you know what I mean? I always thought that was really strange. It was like there were rumors that he was dating. I don't know. I just thought that was always
there were rumors. They've had him dating everybody. But
Blue Cantrell was the really kind of like for real. And that's fine. There was nothing wrong. He was single. She was single. They can date. She's gorgeous.
But did they actually date?
I don't know. I'm not in people's bed.
We don't.
Anyway, the point is, yeah. But the Jaguar Wright stuff, I know the story with Jaguar Wright, great singer. I understand the issues and stuff like that. I was just wondering if because I clicked on Jason Lee once, suddenly she's going to come bombard me.
I have a friend who's a journalist, and she's the one who pointed out. She was like, "Listen, I know you're not a fan of Jason Lee." I was like, "I just think all of that is kind of trashy." She said,
"It is trashy,"
but she's like, "But he's really good at what he does." She's like, "He's really good at getting people so comfortable that he gets all of the things out of them that you want to hear, because he talks to them in a way that they just start talking and they say all of the things that people want to know." And
Joe Budden is like that too.
And he says, and it doesn't turn nasty. You know how sometimes when certain people will ask questions and it gets combative, she said the way he does it,
no, he's good.
It's masterful. He gets them to say all of the things. She said, your role as a journalist is to get that information. And she says he gets the people to say
Well, he also
stuff.
Is not a journalist. He never presents himself as a journalist. He's not a journalist. He's got a great voice. He's not bad to look at. He's honest about who he is. And there is a nudge, nudge, wink, wink. When he says something that's really kind of like, he's going for it. Joe Budden is a great interviewer. Mm-hmm. Great interviewer. And he's a super smart guy. I know the issues with Joe Budden. I'm very aware of what the allegations about what Joe Budden is like as a human being. But he is I think he was the first one to really make that breakthrough, right? And go from like celebrity, rapper to podcaster. Anyway, Doja Cat is someone that you have way more interest in and appreciation than I do.
I actually don't, but I will say this. I guess
I
parents
thought,
will.
all right. I'm sorry to
Yeah. Yeah.
misgenre you. I'm misgenrering you.
I don't dislike her, but I don't care. She's had a
That's
song
it.
or two that's made me sort of bop and shake. But
Yeah.
she said something that's really interesting. Because she's had pop hits. Parents were bringing their young kids to her show and then complaining to her about her show. And she said for a long time, I don't make music for children. Even my Sons of the Pop, I'm talking about sex. I'm talking about all these things. I don't make music for children. Why you bring children to my show?
Well,
And
what
then
are
you want to
children? Are we
complain?
talking little kids or teenagers?
Like, I guess young kids. Because, when I guess because you see parents when these kids like pop radio songs,
Right.
then they're like, oh, my artist is coming to town, let's go see it. And then they get upset that the show is more adult oriented. And she's like, I don't make children's music, which was why she wanted to switch and make the rap album, because she started to notice with the pop albums that the audience was getting younger and she's like, I don't make music for kids. I don't want to be trapped in making music for kids.
She started as a rap artist.
Yeah.
I mean, she was a SoundCloud rap. It's so funny. Years ago, I went to one of those big 9 million acts, at the Garden, like Silk, Shy, H-Town, Jay.
Like when it was the Budweiser Superfest?
No. It wasn't that. It was just like one of the, LL was that, but it was just like everybody, and now come out and do your one song. Silk comes out, Shy comes out, H-Town comes out, Jay comes out. And I will not, they're, sitting in the good seats, and whatever group came out and it was raunchy. And the person sitting in front of me, who's in the music industry, kept putting their hands over their kids' ears to not hear. There are moments. When I saw Nutty Professor, I took Lucian to see Nutty Professor. I didn't know in the middle of an Eddie Murphy film there was going to be the Def Jam comedy hour, So, but yes, I think it's up to parents to do a little investigating. But there's nothing wrong with children hearing certain content. There's actually nothing wrong with children hearing sexual content. But the way Doja Cat is doing it's not. It's just a teenager. I wouldn't recommend it because in a lot of ways.
Well, when you say with kids hearing sexual content, you mean like if they're at a show, do you feel like it goes over their head? They're not even going to understand.
No, I think that teenagers are sexualized now, and this has been going on for quite some. There's a pornization of sexuality, right? Women are supposed to look a certain way. There's certain, sexual acts that were once considered like, like niche or whatever, fetishy, or now. I don't think it's healthy for teenagers who are becoming into their sexual awareness to go someplace, or any artist where they're thinking about choking somebody, right? I mean, Jack Harlow, I don't think that is unless you want to sit down as a parent and have that conversation. I, as a parent, would not want to have that conversation with my kid. I don't like the fact that women have to look like that porn.
Well, that's why I was just confused, because you realize what you said before is you're like, I think it's okay for children to hear certain. That's why I said what I said.
No, I think within context, if it's explained to them ahead of time, I think Doja Cat is not making. She's not making. She's just using words. There's a difference between there's sexual and then there's over the top. I mean, I read what the lyrics are. They're ridiculous. Her lyrics. I wouldn't want to go to a show with my kid anyway, but I certainly took my kid to rap shows. And if there's certain language and you have to cover your ears, it's just, I don't know. I'm surprised that many kids are going to her shows. Is she that?
Well,
she only has two songs, but two songs that were hugely pop, right?
No, well, she had
the song with SZA. What's that first song?
She had "Kiss Me More." She had "Say So." She had
"Say So."
She had "Woman." She had like those two albums full of pop hits, and when you do that, that can skew you kind of young.
Well, let me ask you a question. Mm-hmm. Was she reacting because people said something, or she just decided to make?
I think people
statement?
certain parents started saying something, and she's been saying for a long time, I don't make music for kids.
Okay, well then that's fair. I mean, if she's responding to something, but if she's proactively saying to kind of get all right, then that's totally fair.
She's like, I don't. She's like, it is you as a parent to decide what's appropriate for your kid. I don't make music for kids. She said, are you listening to the things that I'm saying? And if you're listening to the things that I'm saying, you would understand that it's not for children.
Well, you know what the problem is also too, if these kids are hearing this stuff on video shows or on radio, how would they, I mean, a parent would not know. That's problematic too. You'd have to do a lot of deep dive into stuff. I mean, you know.
Yeah, but as a parent, you're the one buying a ticket. So what are you buying a ticket for your kid to see? You know what I mean? Because ultimately that comes down to you making that decision.
But do you think that every parent does, like, I'm going to now sit down with this woman's discography and listen to the songs and determine it? Maybe some parents do, and that would be great. I tried to have as informed as I could, but we want to make our kids happy. You know,
you were taking your kids to 90s hip hop shows, and he turned out fine.
Right, but I wasn't taking him to ones that were age inappropriate.
Exactly. You never said, "Come on, Lush, we're going to 2 Live Crew now."
Yeah.
You know
what's really funny? Years ago, when that DMX Ja Rule J tour, you know, they had that tour, and I remember calling up Kevin or asking Kevin Lyles if I could have tickets, and I said I want tickets for my kid, and he goes, "How old's your kid?" And I went, "I don't know." He was like 12. He goes, "Yeah, you don't want to take your kid to this show." And I was
Which is right. You know what I mean? That's somebody telling you right there, like,
thank you.
This ain't. He's not. He doesn't
need this. Yeah, he's not there. Like, you don't need the smoke, Amy. Mm-hmm. It's all right. You don't need it. Okay. Here's my. You know how? Okay, your release schedule. Mm-hmm. I should be able to push out a human being. I should be able to push out several human beings in the time it takes you to release a record. Mm-hmm. Normani is going to be a Jeopardy question at this point. Who was the 5th member of Fifth Harmony that kept saying she was going to put out an album, and in the meantime, one of her band members became polyamorous, the other one was dating a Canadian pop star, and
put out 4 albums.
Four. That would be 1, 2, 3, 4. We're counting 4.
We're still waiting for your album, which is now has a release date.
Oh, it does. They did.
I believe it's June 14th.
Oh, and let me circle that.
But
Flag Day.
But she dropped a new single.
Nobody cares.
On Friday, and it has not even made the Spotify Global 200 list.
What's it called? 1 minute 46 or something?
1:59.
I thought that God help. I really thought, oh, good, it's a short single. I thought that was the running time. I was like, oh my God, you waited 10 years and you put out like a snippet?
Here's the thing that's disappointing to me on Normani.
She was supposed to be the girl.
She's got all of the goods. She's got all of the things. The talent, you know, she's beautiful. She can dance. She knows how to perform. But I believe in this industry, I've been around long enough to know that there are waves in this ocean. And she had a very high wave. You cannot let that wave crash and think that the interest will be the same as when you were at the top of that wave. If you did not pull out your surfboard and stand up. And to me,
your metaphors are admirable this morning.
To me, this feels like she missed a moment, because now the song comes and it's, again, one of those mid-tempo songs that anybody could be singing. So if you're going to take this long, you have to come out and give the kids, wow, this was worth waiting. It is fresh. It doesn't sound like anything I've heard. This is telling me who you are as an artist, because I think that is really important. And with this song, I just don't see it.
Well, also, her Fifth Harmony fans by now are 30.
They've moved. Well,
they've moved on.
And you know what's really funny?
I'm sorry. Mm-hmm. Let's just say, for sake of a 15 to 20-year-old, they're not going to know who Fifth Harmony are. They don't know. They're not going. It's been 6 years. Who the hell knows?
And the truth of the matter is, I didn't realize this. They didn't have as many hits as I thought.
No, I thought they were bigger too. They were.
I thought that they had a shitload of hits. they had a lot of songs, but they didn't have a lot of hits. So
No.
you can't, so you're not even really getting that like a Destiny's Child situation where if you listen to some radios, you're still going to hear some of those catalog songs in rotation. I keep a radio on in my bathroom on different stations each week. I will hear a Destiny's Child song. I've never heard a Fifth Harmony song.
You still hear TLC songs and stuff.
Absolutely.
Well, the thing with Fifth Harmony also is, with Camila Cabello, I bet that's not even she doesn't even need to be identified anymore as formally a Fifth Harmony.
She doesn't. They don't even talk about it. Yeah,
they don't even talk about it. So you're right. You either, if you're someone who's in a group, Justin Timberlake has transcended. I mean, as horrible as he is, has transcended. You have to, grab it. You have to do it like 6 months after your group breaks up.
He had his wave going, and then he dropped the first album that became so huge.
And then the second album, and now we're done with him.
Right, exactly.
He's done.
Because this album has already fallen off the chart. Essentially.
Yeah, no. I'm just curious. Where's Country Carter in the charts right now?
It's still in the top. I believe it's still in the. Let me look it up. I believe it is still in the top.
Is it
5.
number 2 though, behind Taylor?
Let's see. Hold on.
Because I'm not hearing a lot about that all of a sudden. Where's the singles from that?
Right. Well, they have to do another. Cowboy Carter is number 3. Number 2 is Metro Boomin' and Future. We Don't Trust You.
Okay, but I mean, again, she's amazing. But where is the?
Where's the follow-up single? Right. Because Texas Hold'em was her hit. And now
nothing.
There's a rumor that Most Wanted with Miley Cyrus is going to be the next single.
I would make Bodyguard.
To me, that is the summer song.
That's a summer song.
When I hear that,
that is driving down PCH song.
And just like your hair is blowing in the wind.
No. That's a summer song.
You're in a convertible.
I still, not that I spend much time worrying about Beyonce and her marketing and everything else, but I'm like, oh my God, you got more press than any artist this year and made a really important, interesting record that is really strong. Like, where is it, honey? You gotta work for it. And as much as we have this conversation, and I'm not denying that Naris has its own biases, Taylor Swift, from what I understand, literally goes to radio stations with home-baked cookies. You got to be a little more accessible. She's more accessible, Beyonce, in this record. But I'd love to hear Bodyguard. Oh my God, I can even see the video in my mind. I'd love to hear Bodyguard. Or the Miley song would be good too.
Yeah.
Or her song with Post Malone. How great would that be?
That would be good too.
I will say, if anyone wants to know the definition of white male privilege, that Post Malone was able to
come
go from being
in 2024. Wait. An artist who I was never like, I'm not into him. But I've liked all of these collaborative songs that he's been on.
Well, but it's the fact that he was allowed to switch genres like that and no one has blinked an eye. Because he started out as an emo rapper, right?
I had no idea that he could sing.
Right.
I had no idea that he had a good singing voice, but he sounds great on these songs.
No, he does. And is he ruining those tattoos. But it is, I'm saying that is white male privilege, that he can switch genres right back and forth and no one is saying, you don't have a right to.
You don't belong here. But listen, the funny thing is, even I've seen different country artists being mad at Beyonce being on that chart. It's like, all of you country artists who've crossed over to the pop chart, no one has been like, how dare you be here? It's like, It's so interesting how mad you get that if somebody crosses over there, but you cross over here and you enjoy making that money crossing over to the pop side with your song, doing what you do. No one has said you don't belong here.
There was some pushback when Taylor did it. But to me, Taylor...
Well, only because... And that was the country people.
That's what I'm saying.
They did not like the idea of her suddenly... They felt like she was there. But this was also when people thought she was this conservative Republican girl.
She was the Christian right poster girl.
Yeah, it's like it shattered the dreams when you realize when she crossed over into pop, then she started opening her mouth and you were like, wait a minute, what?
I really wish, I just want Travis Kelce to go away. I find him to just
He just signed on for 2 more years. Now he's for his position and he's the highest paid. He's not going anywhere.
He's such the worst.
Even though I have a friend of mine who works in entertainment, who shall be nameless because I don't want to call him out because he does listen to the show, said to me yesterday, he was like, don't you feel like in a minute she's going to wake up? Because he sent me a clip of them at some place, and he was being very brotastic. He said, you know what I see when I see her? He reminds me of me. When you go through drama in a relationship and you break up from that relationship, you just want
a good time.
And you want to feel protected. You want somebody who makes you feel protected. And he said, and I've done that, jumped into a relationship with somebody who felt like they would protect me. He said that Matt Healy and Joel Elwyn thing, I think, really fucked her up mentally. Yeah. And then here comes the big guy who can protect her. He said, but one day, I feel like one day she's going to wake up and he's not going to be intellectual enough for her.
Well, one day she's going to wake up and my boyfriend is doing Jaeger shots in I'm like looking at him like, oh my God. And one day I'm going to wake up and go, who dresses you? Who dresses this man? I know that he's a big guy. And there is, she's tall. When you're a tall woman, there is something nice about somebody who's taller than you and could possibly pick you up if you fall down on the ground. I mean, I'm not being sarcastic.
I know what you,
No, but I don't get it, but I don't get anybody's relationships. But I particularly don't get, because he just looks like and I'm sure he's a perfectly nice guy. And the fact that he was sort of like, oh, she's my dream girl, I'm going to make a friendship bracelet. What?
He's gonna be the basis of her lyrics for her house music album.
Right. No, yeah. She'll go back to country so that she could
country house. It'll be a country house
as opposed to country kitchen or something like that.
It'll be a country house music album.
Oh, Dios mío. All right. I want to No, I know. All right, so I just want to give a little shout out.
I want a cafe mocha.
Oh, you can get that. You live in America. You can go outside and get one. That's why my father didn't fight in World War II, so that you, my friend, can go outside and get a mocha. You can even get one in Harlem now.
I kept right around the corner, or
not like a cup of bodega coffee with some Hershey's syrup in it.
Which is still, I love my bodega coffee though.
No, there's nothing. I get bodega. Bodega iced coffee, $2, not loaded up with ice, with half and half.
Still at Ray's.
What?
Do you go to Ray's for that?
No, Ralph.
I mean,
Ralph.
Ray's is in Ray's candy. I'm thinking Ray's.
Oh, when he dies, that's going to be the end of the world. That man has been 100 since I went there in the 80s.
That man has been 100. His juice.
He's like the Abe Vigoda of candy stores. He's always been like the best egg creams in New York City. 45 cents in the 80s. That was my lunch, dinner, and breakfast back then. Pack of cigarettes and a Ray's egg cream. Maybe some blintzes at Veselko if I was feeling feisty.
If you were feeling special,
and I could find somebody who could lend me 50 cents to get a little extra sour cream on top. All right, I want to mention a show that I am actually going to. I now will have been to 2 shows in 2 weeks. Alert the media, and I promise I will not fall down walking home from this. I'm going to go see Jeff Mills at BAM on Saturday. Jeff Mills, a groundbreaking, legendary Detroit house music guy. So he's going to be doing Jeff Mills Tomorrow Comes to Harvest. He's going to be recreating a very important album he did in 2018 with the late Tony Allen. So I'm really excited about that. I think it's going to be lots of fun. And as you know, it fits my criteria for music. Down the street. I'll be home by 10:30.
Literally down the street from you.
Down the street. I will be home by 10:30. And they've been very nice and comp me. But it's a great festival this whole weekend at BAM. If you're in New York City, it's the Bang a Can. It's Patti Smith is going to be performing with a sort of avant-garde music group. And it's cool. And it's a lot of local people, a lot of not local people. And it's a great place to see a show. So that's what I'm doing. But I do want to talk about, I think what we're listening to is Pet Shop Boys record. Is that fair to say?
A bunch of things have come out, but I keep listening. Well, I keep listening to that, and
All right, he's all right. Do you really? You know what, Courtney? Out of my love for you, I'm not going to let you. Friends don't let friends talk about that woman one more time. Keep it to yourself. You don't need. You don't want to start your day feeling less than.
Because no one has been on this ride with me.
No one.
No one has been on the ride with me.
Yeah.
I have tried.
No, it's all right.
And I really. So I will just skip that one and go to the new Justice album I've been listening to. But I gotta say, I keep just going back to Pet Shop Boys. It's been on.
I know it's great. I woke up. All right, so Pet Shop Boys.
And I did listen to the Jess Glynn album. I don't love this. Her first album in 6 years.
Okay.
I don't love this one, but she's got a great voice. But I don't really love this
one. So I just, we've been talking about records. We're kind of digging in the crates and going back to. So 2 records. One is very like my high school years, Rough Mix by Pete Townsend and the late Ronnie Lane from the Faces, Small Faces. Pete Townsend, everybody knows who Pete Townsend is. And it's supposed to be a collaboration record. It's kind of more Pete Townsend, but it was like all over FM radio when I was a kid. And My Baby Gives It Away, Keep Me Turning, Annie, which is sort of that. It's just a really great album. It kind of gets lost in the mix. Pete Townsend did do a couple of solo records. And then yesterday, for some reason, I started listening, and I haven't listened to it in years, Alice Smith's debut for Lovers, Dreamers, and Me. And it came out in 2006. She's first off, her voice, spectacular. Have you ever seen her in concert, Alice Smith?
I've not seen her in a full concert, but I've absolutely saw her get on stage
with Black Girls Rock
with Prince.
Okay.
The last time I saw Prince was at one of his midnight shows that happened after the MTV Awards on a Sunday, where he played for hours, and a bunch of people came up on stage with him, and Alice Smith was one of them.
Phenomenal singer. I guess her biggest hit was she did a cover of CeeLo's Feel for You. I don't know. She's a great singer. I've seen her at Afropunk. I saw her at a little street festival at BAM. She's put out a couple albums. She was on the Nina Simone tribute record. She has done Black Girls Rock. This album is just great. She writes her own material. Just a wonderful woman. She used to live in the neighborhood. She was, I don't know if she's still married to him, but she was married to Citizen Cope, which is like the coolest couple ever as far as I'm concerned. He's another artist that gets forgotten all the time. But Alice Smith for Lovers, Dreamers, and Me, highly recommend that record.
Well, 2 that I've been listening to this weekend was Eddie Kendrick's 7th album, He's a Friend, which was before my time in going to the clubs, but is a Black gay club classic. And it's the title track, He's a Friend, is just great. That whole first side, it's a great album, but the whole A side of it is friggin' spectacular. And it's Norman Harris produced it. It's really, really dope. And I've been also listening to Sweet Sensation, which is Stephanie Mills' 4th album that was produced by Mtume and Reggie Lucas. And it's really good. I think we all know the big hit from it was Never Knew Love Like This Before, but the things like Sweet Sensation and Wishing You Were Mine, Try My Love, Mixture of Love, Still Mine. So it's just really young Stephanie Mills voice on fucking just like that's just amazing, amazing
level of not level. There's this whole generation, or I guess it still happens. I used to sort of very sarcastically refer to it as singer noises that only black dogs can hear, meaning they're singers who have massive careers in a certain, Gerald Levert, Tank, Kim, Rashawn Patterson to away, Anthony Hamilton. These are people who could, Stephanie Mills, who could go out tomorrow, and sell out, big halls. By the way, speaking of which, do you know that Cheryl Pepsi Riley is hosting like a salon series at BAM for the next month?
No, that's really amazing. But Cheryl has been part of, like, first of all, when she made that album, Cheryl was a very big session singer and background singer. She's on a lot of people's records. Yeah. She's written a lot of stuff. And she sings a lot of stuff. So that doesn't surprise me. That's amazing.
She's at the small space. Yeah, I got it. And I was like, wait a minute, the Cheryl Pepsi Riley? So that's super cool, actually. So another thing, if you want to come out to Brooklyn and go to a great space to see music, which is BAM, and support BAM, because why not support BAM? All right. Anything else you'd like to say other than...
I'd like to say, you know what it is, people.
Oh, look at that.
Tell
look
a
at
friend.
You sliding into the tag.
Tell a friend. Tell your cousin. Tell someone's cousin. Share our show. Leave a rating. Leave a star.
Please leave a rating. Please
tell a review. Post it. Follow us on our Facebook, and I'm going to let you finish. All one word. Follow us.
You guys have all been behaving. Okay. Sister Mary Amy would like to thank you all for behaving yourselves. We love you, and you've all taken a vow of kindness for the spring solstice. Thank you.
A little bit.
A little bit. Well, Courtney, would we really want people who play nice all the time?
Well, no. This is true.
Yeah, come on.
And you know what it is. Follow the Pantheon Podcast Network. We're also now on YouTube Music and YouTube. So you just search for I'ma Let You Finish, all one word, and that should pop up. So like when you're on your Alexa, say, Alexa, play I'ma Let You Finish podcast.
You know, I walk around the house saying that all the time, and it doesn't do anything because I don't have Alexa. It really sucks. I just keep going Alexa. Maybe I should get another cat and name it Alexa so that when it makes some sounds. Anyway, so yes, you follow us and please support Pantheon Podcasts as well. Great shows. Yeah, isn't it the biggest music podcast conglomerate in the
world?
In the world, not just here, the world.
The world.
All right.
And we'll see you next week and all of that jazz and stuff. And remember, pizza is good.
And the Knicks are better.
And the Knicks are better. We'll see you next week. Bye.
Bye.
It's NFL draft season, and that means it's time to start thinking about fantasy football. FantasyPoints.com features industry-leading experts and prognosticators using proprietary hand-charted data to help you score more fantasy points. FantasyPoints.com is the place to go for whatever kind of fantasy football you play. Whether you play fantasy football, daily fantasy sports, or do a little bit of everything, Fantasy Points has the meticulously researched content to guide you to victory. And why wait for the fall? Fantasy Points also covers the new spring football league, the UFL. Join the guru, John Hansen, Scott Barrett, Joe Dolan, and other massive names in the fantasy football universe with an exclusive offer. Use code Pantheon for 15% off any Fantasy Points package, including the all-in package, with access to every article, tool, and data nugget that Fantasy Points has to offer. That's FantasyPoints.com and code Pantheon for 15% off at Fantasy Points. FantasyPoints.com, code Pantheon. Score more fantasy points.